What up, what up? Welcome back to the channel, and as always, thank you all for watching. Starting us off this week, we have Will's playing Varina, the Lich Queen. This deck is trying to put zombies onto the battlefield by exiling cards out of his graveyard. I'm gonna give you a second to take a look at his opening hand. You can feel free to pause it, and I'm gonna scroll on over to Ashley. Ashley's playing Huatli. This is the new one that flips over into a saga, and it's a dinosaur kindred deck or a dinosaur typo deck, whatever you want to call it. The focus is dinos, punch face. Then we have Jeff. Jeff is playing Ukkima and Cazur. That's his name. I always forget the name of the green one. So Ukkima and Cazur, this is a counters focused deck. It's a +1/+1 counters deck. He's trying to put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on his commander, win with commander damage, or put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on something else and win with that. And then next over to me, I'm going to be playing Kasla. This is an upgraded Convoke deck. Now, there aren't too many cards that work well with Convoke, so I don't know how long I'm going to hold on to this deck. This may be the deciding game to see if I keep the deck together or break it apart. You can take a look at my opening hand. Feel free to pause it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into the game. We can start the gameplay. See you at the table. Will plays the Temple of Deceit. He scries to the bottom and passes the turn. Ashley plays a Shelter Thicket, tapped and passed the turn. Jeff plays a Creeping Tar Pit, tapped and pass. I'll play a Plains and tap it out of Solidarity. Will plays a Flooded Strand into a Soul Ring. He fetches a Raffine's Tower and pass. Ashley plays a Plains and casts Otepic Huntmaster. Jeff plays an Overgrown Tomb, then he casts Biophagus and passes to me. I'll play an Island and pass. Will plays a Marsh Flats, which he cracks for a Godless Shrine. Then he casts Corpse Knight. He casts Lord of the Accursed, triggering Corpse Knight to drain the table for 1 before passing a turn. Ashley plays Rockfall Vale and casts Curious Altasaur for some card draw when her dinos go bonk. She'll move to combat and tap Otepic Huntmaster to give Curious Altasaur haste, which she swings at me for 2 damage. She'll draw a card and pass it to Jeff. Jeff plays one of his commanders, Ukkima, Stalking Shadow. Biophagus has it coming in with a +1/+1 counter. He plays Tyrite Sanctum as his land and pass it to me. I'll play Hollow Fountain tapped and pass the turn. Will plays a Swamp, then he casts his commander, Varina, Lich Queen. We all lose 1. Then he moves to combat and sends Corpse Knight at Jeff for 3 damage. This triggers Varina, so he'll draw a card, then discard a card before passing the turn. Ashley plays the Forest, then she casts Kinjali Sunwing, which makes all our creatures enter the battlefield tapped. She gives the Kinjali haste with Otepic and sends it at will for 2 damage in the air. Curious Altasaur triggers, so she'll draw a card and pass the turn. Jeff plays a Forest, moves to combat and sends his 3/3 commander at will with no blocks. I play a Mountain and move to my end step where Will exiles 2 cards and creates a 2/2 zombie before starting his turn. He starts by playing the Caves of Koilos, then casting Azuria Signet. From there, he'll cast Sidisi Undead Vizier and exploit his zombie token to 2-drop a card. In response to the exploit trigger, Jeff convokes Lethal Scheme, destroying Varina. The Biophagus connives a land to Jeff's graveyard and Will passes the turn. Ashley plays a Mountain, then casts Pantlaza Sunfavorite, which on ETB discovers 4. Ashley discovers an Explorer. The rest of the cards goes to the bottom. She'll play a Rogue's Passage as her extra land this turn. She moves to combat, sending Kinjali at will and cures Altasaur at me for 2 damage each. She draws from the Altasaur trigger and passes the turn. Jeff plays a command tower. Then he casts Scavenging Ooze for some graveyard hate. It'll enter with a counter from Biophagus. Then Jeff casts Rishkar Pima Renegade, and on ETB he puts a counter on it and a counter on his commander. He moves to combat and sends Ukkima at Ashley for 4 unblocked damage. At his end step, I channel Sokenzan, Crucible of Defiance, to create 2 1/1 spirits. I'll play a Plains. Then I'll convoke Hour of Reckoning to destroy all non-token creatures. Ashley responds by casting Heroic Intervention. Everyone but Ashley's board is wiped, and I pass the turn to Will, who plays a Sea of Clouds, then casts Teferi's Aegis Insight before passing the turn. Ashley plays a Jetmare's Garden, then she casts Scion of Calamity, triggering Pantlaza and discovering 5. She discovers a Beast Within and destroy Will's Teferi's Aegis Insight. She gives the Calamity haste and then moves to combat, sending Calamity and Pantlaza at Jeff, Sanjala at me, and Curious Altasaur at Will. Will responds by casting Illusionist's Gambit to reset combat and make it so creatures can't attack him. Ashley untaps, and then she'll send Calamity and Pantlaza at Jeff for 9. Sanjali and Curious Altasaur is sent to me for 4. Then Will and I each get a Myriading Calamity at each of us for 5 damage. With the Calamity trigger, Ashley destroys Will's Soul Ring. Ashley draws 6 from the Curious Altasaur, then she casts Nature's Lore. She'll fetch a Canopy Vista, move to discard, and pass the turn. Jeff plays a Swamp, then casts his second commander, Cazur Ruthless Stalker. Lastly, he'll cast Bloom Tender and pass the turn. I play a Phyrexian Altar and pass. Will cast Felwar Stone, then he recasts his commander and pass the turn. On Ashley's upkeep, I cast Wicked Slumber to tap Otepic Huntmaster and Scion of Calamity, as well as putting 2 slumber counters on the Scion. Ashley plays a Rhythm of the Wild, then casts O'Hare Chasm Deepest Growth. She moves to combat and sends her O'Hare Jeff for 6, Sunwing and Curious Altasaur at me for 4, and with O'Hare's trigger, she'll put Gishath, Sun's Avatar, and an Exotic Orchard onto the battlefield. Gishath triggers Pantlaza and discovers Doors of Doran. She'll pass after that. Jeff plays a Vesuva. Then he casts the Ozolith into Ukkima and pass the turn to me. I play Kaikar, Wind's Fury, tapped, and pass the turn. Will moves straight to combat, and he sends his commander at me for 4 damage. I take the damage so he can draw. He'll draw and discard, then he casts Shepherd of Rot and Cemetery Reaper before passing the turn. Ashley casts Ghalta and Maverin, and she'll discover a Drover of the Mighty. She moves to combat and sends Gishath at Will and everything else at Jeff to take him out of the game. Doors of Doran triggers on attack, and she scries 2 to the bottom and puts a Topiary Stomper from the top onto the battlefield tapped and attacking me. Will blocks the Gishath with his 3/3 beast and takes 5 damage. I block with a Spirit. Jeff is taken out of the game, but blocks 4 O'Hare damage, so Ashley only gets to look at the top 2 cards. She puts a Tranquil Throwback into play. Paying the green to blow up my Phyrexian Altar, and again to exile Will's graveyard. Because Gishath dealt 5 excess damage to Will, she reveals the top 5 and puts a Zakama Primal Calamity into play. She passed out her Rhythm of the Wild counters, draw from Curious Altasaur, and pass the turn. I'll cast Shram's Expertise to create 3 tapped servos and cast Saint Traft and Rem Carolus for free. This triggers Kaikar, and I get a spare and pass a turn. Will sends the team at me for 9 damage. I let him draw, he'll draw 3, discard 3 from Varina. Then he casts Raise the Palisade and returns all non-zombies to their owner's hands. Ashley plays a Plains and casts Ukkima, Primal Calamity, untapping her lands. Then she'll cast Registrar Alpha, giving her Dino's haste. It enters with a 3/3 Dino. She'll recast Scion of Calamity, move to attack, and trigger Doors of Doran. She'll scry 2, and then she'll put them to the bottom of her library. She'll look at the top card to reveal Rishkar's expertise. It goes to the bottom, and we're left at 1 life each. I don't draw into anything meaningful, so I pass the turn. On my end step, Will makes a zombie. He attacks Ashley with everything to draw and discard 4. With no more interaction, we concede and Ashley takes the win this time around. The dinos came out to play and we just couldn't catch up.